Good morning. Happy Monday. Last week we discussed where do novelists get their ideas. Started with a Scott Odell quote that says, good stories are everywhere. You don't have to look far. Open your eyes. And it's true. The things we experience, the great stories that we hear, uh, the people that we meet and we find have something remarkable to tell are all fuel for fiction. But not only that, also the books that we read. And we don't steal from these books, but rather we use them as benchmarks, as something that we wish to try to achieve. That's why it's important for any aspiring novelist to read a lot, to learn to love the act of reading, to get lost in the stories. Because the more you read, the greater arsenal you'll have when it comes to pulling models and for pulling other ideas into your own work. So read your hearts out. In my case, I had tried to write 4 previous novels and they had all failed, and I gave up for 10 years. And then there was a book I read that I said, I think I want to try one more time, after reading it, of course. And that was In the Time of the Butterflies by Julia Alvarez. What I love about this book, other than it touched me deeply when I read it, and I was in awe of her craftsmanship, is that it tells a true to history story of 3 sisters who tragically gave their lives to overthrow a dictatorship in the Dominican Republic. I loved that it had a historical backdrop. You get to know all about the time of Rafael Trujillo and the horrors of living under an absolutely cruel system. So when I read that book, the first thing I thought when I finished is I'd like to write something like that. And I knew that in Nicaragua there were a lot of similar stories that can to be told, to be brought to an English-speaking audience, which is another thing I loved about Julia Alvarez's work. And that brings to mind a maxim of Toni Morrison's that I subscribe to. Toni Morrison, the American writer and Nobel Prize winner, advises, write the book that you want to read. So that's what every writer should set off to do. It's as simple as that. Not as simple, but as simple as that. So I moved to Nicaragua in 1999 after being away for many years. And only a couple of weeks after I'd been back, my father introduced me to Bernardo Martinez. They were good friends. By then he was Father Bernardo Martinez, and his journey to priesthood is a story in and of itself. What happened in the case of Bernardo is that on May 8th, 1980, the Virgin Mary appeared to him in a cow pasture outside of a little village called Guapa, a community that time had forgotten. Uh, his vision occurred at a crucial time in Nicaraguan history. The country was very divided. Only 6 months earlier, the Sandinistas had overthrown the 50-year dynasty of the Somoza family. And they were trying to reconstruct a society that resembled utopia, where there would be plenty for all and social justice for all, under a socialist banner. Now this, of course, met resistance, and it divided people. Some people were not in quite of a hurry to move in that direction, and to be honest, the Sandinistas, in their enthusiasm, sometimes got a little bit heavy-handed. But even the church became divided. There were priests who had subscribed to liberation theology, a new framework from which to look at the Gospels that emphasized social justice. And the traditional church, which wanted to stay a steady course, didn't want to revolutionize uh, things that quickly. And what alarmed the traditional church was that the priests who were liberation theologians were working side by side and enthusiastic with the socialist government. So Bernardo's narrative, Bernardo's vision fit in perfectly with that of the traditional church, of Mary saying, go slowly, keep the peace. And they started to spread the word that Mary had appeared in Cuapa. The word spread throughout Nicaragua. The faithful started to make pilgrimages to Cuapa. This alarmed the Sandinista government because millions of Nicaraguans were accepting as an act of certainty that there had been an apparition. The Sandinistas felt obligated to discredit Bernardo's story. So the way to do so was through their media, accuse him of being a CIA agent and of being a drug user, hence the visions. It became so known in the country that when writers who supported the Sandinista revolution, well, not all of them, I should say, but most of them who did, would visit the country, they mentioned uh, Bernardo in their journals. Among these writers are Graham Greene, Salman Rushdie, Mario Vargas Llosa. And Bernardo got caught, became sort of the rope, to use a metaphor, in a tug of war between East and West. Because the United States, by proxy through the Contras, and the Sandinistas, through the Sandinista, and the Soviet Union, through the Sandinista army, became involved in the Nicaraguan conflict. So for 10 years, Bernardo lived on the edge of a knife. When I met him, Nicaragua had been at peace for 10 years, but he still had his story. And I knew it was a great one to tell. It was a great seed. Better yet, what I really liked is that it would be a vehicle for me to explore the history of Nicaragua in the 20th century, something I had been passionate about since I was a teenager. So there it was, my idea, the seed that resulted in the first novel that I got published, Bernardo and the Virgin. Now, you got a seed, you got an idea. What do you do with it? Where do you go from there? That's what we'll explore next time, using Bernardo as a case study. If you enjoyed this, or better yet, if you found it helpful, please like, comment, share, and I'll see you all next Monday. Hasta la próxima semana.